3 times Earth's gravity killed 12 alien species in under 10 minutes. Their bones shattered. Their organs collapsed. Blood pooled in their lower bodies, and they suffocated standing up. The Galactic Council banned all training above 2.5 G after the Vrakian incident. Every species agreed. Every species signed the treaty. Except humans weren't there yet. When Lieutenant Marcus Chen stepped into the training chamber, he didn't know the rules. He didn't know the galaxy considered 3G a death sentence. He just saw a dial that went to 10 and thought, let's see what I can do. But the truth behind this will shock you. What happened next made the Galactic Council rewrite every physical standard they'd established in 4,000 years. It forced them to question everything they knew about biology, evolution, and survival. And it revealed something about humanity that terrifies half the galaxy and inspires the other half. Here's what you're about to discover. First, why 3G gravity training was designed as a torture method, not exercise. The original purpose will blow your mind. Second, the biological glitch in human design that makes us walking anomalies in a galaxy of normal species. This isn't about being stronger. It's weirder than that. Third, what happened when humans asked to go higher, and why the alien instructors thought it was a suicide request. This isn't just another humans are special story. This is about the moment the galaxy realized Earth wasn't a garden planet. It was a high-gravity nightmare that produced the only species capable of treating their homeworld as normal. The training facility was called Meridian Station. It orbited a dead star. Every military in the galaxy sent their elite there. The best of the best. The survival rate was 73%. Then humans arrived. Let me show you exactly how this happened, and why the director of Meridian Station called his superiors and said, "We have a problem. The humans are doing recreational exercise at levels that killed our instructors." Meridian Station was built 300 years before humans joined the Galactic Council. It served one purpose: train soldiers to survive the worst combat environments in known space. High-gravity planets, crushing atmospheric pressure, places where normal biology failed. The station used gravity manipulation technology, ancient tech from the Forerunner species. It could create fields up to 10 G in controlled chambers. But no one ever went past 3. There was no reason. 3G killed everything. The training protocol was simple. Start at 0.5 G, increase by 0.1 every day. Most species maxed out at 1.8 G. The really tough ones, like the Kraven with their exoskeletons, hit 2.2. Anything above that went into the red zone. The red zone meant death risk exceeded 50%. Here's the first surprise. The high-gravity chambers weren't originally for training. They were weapons testing facilities. The Forerunners used them to see which species could survive on conquered worlds. It was basically a sorting system. Can you live here? No? Then you're not a threat. When the Council took over Meridian Station, they repurposed it. They thought, if we can train soldiers to survive these conditions, we'll have an unstoppable military. It didn't work that way. Most species that trained at 2G needed full mechanical support suits just to stand. Their bodies couldn't adapt. The Zafrani, a species famous for their speed, collapsed at 1.6 G. Their lightweight skeletons couldn't handle the load. Second surprise. Every species that tried to push into 3G territory did it with extensive medical support. Hormone treatments, bone density supplements, genetic modification in some cases. And they still failed most of the time. The Council kept detailed records. 4,000 species tested over 3 centuries. 12 made it to 3G. All 12 suffered permanent damage. Crushed vertebrae, heart failure, neural degradation from restricted blood flow to the brain. The Vrakian incident happened 50 years ago. A platoon of elite Vrakian shock troops, already modified for heavy combat, attempted 3.2G training. Military leadership wanted super soldiers. They got corpses. 8 died instantly. The other 4 survived, but never walked again. The Council banned Red Zone training the next day. Humans didn't know any of this when they sent their first military exchange unit to Meridian Station. 20 soldiers. They'd passed every Earth qualification. Rangers, SEALs, Special Forces. The best Earth could offer. The station director, a 4-armed Keshan named Vortak, read their files and laughed. Humans came from a 1G planet. 1. Most Council species evolved on 0.7 or 0.8 G worlds. Humans were already at a disadvantage. He scheduled them for standard orientation. 0.5G introduction. Same as everyone else. He expected them to struggle at 1.2, maybe hit 1.5 if they were exceptional. Now here's where things get really interesting. The humans didn't just meet expectations. They shattered every assumption Vortak had about biology, physics, and what normal actually meant. Lieutenant Marcus Chen walked into the 0.5G chamber for orientation. He stood there for 5 seconds, looked around, then asked, "Is the gravity turned on?" The technician, a spider-like arachnist named Click, checked his instruments twice. Yes, it was on. 0.5G exactly. Chen should feel lighter, bouncier, like he weighed half his normal weight. Chen did feel lighter. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was he felt too light, like he might float away. He'd trained in low-G environments before. This felt the same. Click increased it to 1G. Chen nodded. Okay, this feels normal. This is what I'm used to. Click's translator stuttered. He ran the diagnostics again. The chamber was at exactly 1.0G, Earth's gravity. Chen was standing in his home environment. Of course it felt normal. But here's what shocked Click. Every other species felt heavy at 1G. Their bodies registered it as increased load. Strain. Something to adapt to. Chen registered it as baseline. Zero stress. Click called Director Vortak. The director came personally. He didn't believe the report. He watched Chen walk, jump, do a backflip in 1G. No strain. No adaptation period. Just normal movement. Vortak increased the field to 1.5G. Most species needed 6 weeks to adapt to 1.5. They moved slowly, carefully. Their bodies screamed at them. Chen moved like he was wearing a weighted vest. Slower than 1G, yes, but controlled. Stable. How do you feel? Vortak asked. Heavy, Chen said. Like I'm carrying my gear. Not bad, though. I've done 12-mile runs with 60 pounds of equipment. This feels similar. Vortak's forearms twitched. 60 pounds. At 1G. This human had voluntarily added 0.6G worth of artificial weight and ran with it. For 12 miles. He had to see more. Vortak pushed the field to 2G. Chen dropped into a squat. Stood up. Dropped again. He was testing his range of motion. After 10 squats, he nodded. This is challenging. I can work with this. Vortak's medical scanner showed Chen's heart rate elevated but stable. Breathing heavy but controlled. Muscle strain within acceptable limits. The human was uncomfortable but not in danger. Every other species at 2G needed support within 60 seconds. Chen asked, "Can I try some exercises?" Vortak agreed, mostly because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Chen dropped to the floor. He positioned his hands shoulder-width apart, extended his legs, and did a push-up at 2G, which meant he was pressing 4 times his earth weight with his arms. He did 10. Then he did 10 more. How many can you do? Vortak asked. At 2G? Maybe 50 before I need a break. I usually do 100 at normal gravity. The director's translator actually glitched. 100 push-ups. At 1G. This human's normal exercise routine would hospitalize most council species. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. Chen wasn't even the strongest human in his unit. He was average. The unit included a man named Sergeant Trevor Stone who'd been a powerlifter before joining the military. Stone could deadlift 700 pounds on Earth. At 1G. When Vortak put Stone in the 2G chamber, Stone looked around and asked if they had any weights. He wanted to maintain his training schedule. He was disappointed when they said no. The director pulled Chen's full file that night. He read about Earth. The file described it as a high-gravity death world. Most council planets range from 0.6 to 0.9G. Earth was 1G, the high end of habitable. Except Earth wasn't the high end. It was just Earth. And humans had evolved there for millions of years. Their bones were dense. Their muscles were overbuilt. Their cardiovascular systems were designed to pump blood upward against crushing force. Every human was naturally adapted to conditions that killed other species. Vortak realized something terrifying. Humans weren't training at Meridian Station. They were relaxing, going easy, operating at partial capacity. The question wasn't how high humans could go. The question was how high they'd already been going without anyone noticing. Director Vortak did something unauthorized the next day. He put Chen in the 2.5G chamber. Red zone. The council's legal maximum. The limit where training became hazardous human testing. He had to know. Chen entered the chamber. The gravity field activated. 2.5 times Earth's crushing force pressed down on him. He grunted, bent forward slightly. His face reddened as blood pressure spiked. Vortak reached for the emergency shutoff. Chen straightened up, took a breath, took another. His body adapted in real time. 45 seconds after entering red zone gravity, his vitals stabilized. "This is heavy," Chen said. His voice strained. "But I can handle it." He could stand. He could walk. Slowly, carefully, but he could walk. At gravity levels that had killed 12 species. Then Chen did something that made Vortak file an emergency report with the Council. Chen asked to train at 2.5 G every day. Not just survive it. Not just tolerate it. Train. Exercise. Push his body to grow stronger under conditions designed to crush bones. Vortak approved it. He wanted data. The Council needed to know what humans were capable of. For the next 30 days, Chen trained at 2.5 G for 2 hours daily. Week 1, he could barely walk. Week 2, he was jogging. Week 3, he was doing push-ups again. Week 4, he asked if they could go higher. Here's what the medical scans showed. Chen's bone density increased by 8%. His muscle tissue didn't just adapt. It thrived. His cardiovascular system got more efficient, not less. The human body saw crushing gravity as a challenge to overcome, not a threat to avoid. Compare this to other species. The Kraven, with their exoskeletons, needed 12 weeks to adapt to 2G. They never got stronger. They just reached a plateau where they could survive without dying. Chen was getting stronger, actively building capacity. The other 19 humans in Chen's unit noticed his progress. They all asked for red zone training. Vortak approved all of them. Within 3 months, the human unit was functioning normally at 2.5 G. They ran drills, practiced combat maneuvers. One of them, a medic named Rodriguez, was doing yoga to stay flexible. The Galactic Council received Vortak's reports with disbelief. They sent inspectors, 3 different species, all experts in biology and physics. They needed to verify this wasn't a hoax. The inspectors watched the humans train. They reviewed the medical data. They tested the equipment to ensure it wasn't malfunctioning. Everything checked out. Humans were actually doing this. The lead inspector, a crystalline being named Essence of Dawn, made a discovery that changed everything. She analyzed human evolution records that Earth had provided. She cross-referenced them with Council databases on planetary conditions. Earth wasn't just a 1G planet now. It had always been a high-gravity world. For the entire 4 billion years of life's evolution there, every ancestor humans had, going back to single-celled organisms, evolved under crushing pressure. Here's the contrast. Most Council species evolved on planets that started at lower gravity and stayed there, or they evolved on planets that lost gravity over time as their cores cooled. Evolution optimized them for efficiency. Light bones, minimal muscle. Why build a tank when you can build a race car? Earth did the opposite. Earth built tanks. Every creature on Earth was over-engineered for survival. Dense bones, redundant systems, excessive muscle tissue. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most Council species just from shock. One inspector found a video from Earth. A human fell from a 12-foot height, broke both legs, and survived. On most Council worlds, that fall would be fatal. The impact would rupture organs. Essence of Dawn compiled her findings into one sentence. Humans aren't adapted to high gravity. High gravity is their normal. Everything they do, every day, is red zone training for the rest of us. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. What happened when the humans asked to see what 3G felt like, and why Vortak almost said no. 3G was illegal. The Council banned it after the Vrakian incident. But Vortak had a problem. The humans were bored at 2.5 G. They'd adapted completely. They were asking for more. And technically, they hadn't signed the Council treaty yet. Earth was still in provisional membership. Legal loophole. Vortak called a Council emergency session. He needed permission to push the humans into 3G. He argued that understanding human limits was critical for military planning. If humans could survive 3G, it changed warfare strategy on high-gravity worlds. The Council debated for 6 hours. Finally, they agreed, but only under strict conditions. Full medical teams on standby. Immediate shutdown if any human showed distress. And only Chen would go first, alone. Lieutenant Marcus Chen entered the 3G chamber on a Tuesday morning. 47 Council observers watched via live feed. Medical teams from 8 species stood ready. Vortak's hands shook as he activated the field. 3G slammed into Chen like a falling building. He collapsed to his knees. His face went purple. Blood vessels burst in his eyes. The medical monitors screamed warnings. Heart rate spiking. Blood pressure critical. Respiratory distress. Vortak reached for the shutdown. Chen raised one hand. Wait. The word came out as a wheeze. Give me a minute. 60 seconds at 3G felt like dying. Your blood turns to lead. Your bones feel like they're crumbling. Your lungs can't expand. It's not pain. It's wrongness. Like the universe is pressing you out of existence. Chen's body fought back. His heart rate dropped from critical to merely dangerous. His breathing became rhythmic. Shallow, but rhythmic. His muscles stopped shaking and locked into stabilization mode. After 90 seconds, he opened his eyes. Okay, Chen said. This is really heavy. He could speak. At 3G, when 12 species had died, unable to even breathe, Chen placed his hands on the floor. He pushed. His arms shook. Veins bulged on his neck. But slowly, impossibly, he lifted his chest off the ground. He did a push-up at 3G. He was pressing 6 times his earth weight with his arms. One push-up. That's all he managed before collapsing again. But that one push-up broke every record in Meridian Station's 300-year history. No one had ever moved purposefully at 3G. They'd only survived. Or died. The council observers sat in stunned silence. Chen stayed in the chamber for 5 minutes total. When he came out, he was exhausted. Shaking. His muscles screamed. But he was alive. Undamaged. And smiling. That was intense, Chen said. Can I try again tomorrow? Vortak shut down the chamber. He needed time to process what just happened. But here's what he realized while writing his report. Chen had asked, can I try again tomorrow? Not should I, or is it safe? He asked, can I? The human instinct wasn't to survive 3G. It was to conquer it. To adapt. To grow stronger. Chen saw 3G as a challenge to overcome, not a limit to accept. Over the next 6 months, Chen trained at 3G twice per week. 30-minute sessions. By month 6, he could walk normally. Do 10 push-ups. Run on a treadmill. Not fast, but he could run. The other 19 humans followed his progress and asked for their turn. The council had to create new safety protocols, new medical standards, new legal frameworks. Meridian Station had to hire human consultants because no other species understood human physiology well enough to prevent injuries. Sergeant Stone, the powerlifter, eventually made it to 3.2G, the level that killed the Vrakian elites. He described it as like leg day, but for your whole body. The council realized something that changed galactic politics forever. If humans could fight at 3G, they could conquer any high-gravity world in council space. Worlds that were considered uninhabitable. Fortress worlds that were thought unassailable. Earth hadn't just joined the council. Earth had joined with a biological weapon. A species designed by evolution to thrive where everything else died. So what does all this mean for us today? The Meridian Station revelations changed galactic military doctrine within a year. First, the Council reclassified Earth from Garden World to Extremophile Origin Point. This meant human adaptations weren't just impressive. They were strategic assets. Any species from an extremophile world got special consideration in military planning. Earth was the only 1G extremophile world they'd found. Second, high-gravity planets became human specializations. The Council had 47 worlds in their territory that sat between 1.2 and 2G. These worlds had resources, minerals, energy sources, but they were too hostile for standard colonization. Humans could live there comfortably. The Council offered Earth first colonization rights. It was a massive economic opportunity. Humans got access to worlds that were basically free real estate because no one else could survive there. But here's the short-term consequence no one expected. Human soldiers became the galaxy's most expensive mercenaries overnight. A human squad could operate on worlds where full council battalions would need environmental suits and massive support infrastructure. One human cost less than one support suit. The math was simple. Every council military wanted human units. Earth went from provisional member to critical strategic partner in 18 months. Third implication. Other species started studying human training methods. If humans got strong by lifting heavy things, maybe that principle worked universally. The Council established new physical training protocols based on human exercise science. It helped. Sort of. Other species got marginally stronger, but they never reached human levels. The problem wasn't training. It was evolution. You can't overcome 4 billion years of adaptation in a few generations. Long-term consequences get weirder. Human genetics became the most valuable research material in the galaxy. Not for cloning. The Council banned that immediately, but for understanding how biology adapts to extreme stress. Medical science advanced by decades because of human studies. The Council discovered that human healing factors, bone density, and cardiovascular efficiency could inspire treatments for other species. They couldn't make a Zafrani as strong as a human, but they could help Zafrani survive injuries that used to be fatal. Personal takeaway for the viewer. This story isn't about humans being better. It's about perspective. Earth seemed normal to humans because it was all they knew. But normal is relative. What you think is normal might be extraordinary elsewhere. Chen didn't think he was special. He was just doing push-ups. Standard exercise. He didn't realize that standard, for him, was superhuman for the galaxy. Here's the lesson. Your baseline might be someone else's ceiling. The struggles you deal with every day might be preparing you for opportunities you can't see yet. Chen trained in Earth's gravity his whole life without knowing it made him elite by galactic standards. Another implication. The Council had to rewrite their threat assessment protocols. They'd evaluated species based on technology and numbers. They never considered that some species might be physically incompatible with equality. Humans weren't more technologically advanced than the Council, but they had a biological advantage in specific environments. That created uncomfortable political situations. How do you maintain equal partnerships when one partner can physically dominate certain scenarios? The Council solved this with specialization agreements. Humans got military and high-gravity colonization rights. Other species kept their advantages in low-gravity manufacturing, quantum computing, or biological sciences. Everyone brought something unique to the table. But here's the tension that still exists. Some Council species feel threatened by human capabilities. They worry about long-term dominance. What happens in 200 years when there are billions of humans spread across high-gravity worlds? What if humans decide they don't need the Council anymore? Earth leadership addressed this with integration policies. Humans serve in mixed units. Human colonies accept multi-species populations. The goal is interdependence, not dominance. It's working so far, but it's only been 20 years since Meridian Station. Galactic politics move slowly. One final tension. Some human factions want to push higher. They want to see how far human adaptation can go. There are proposals for 4G training. 5G. Some extremists talk about 10G. The Council refuses. They've seen what happens when species push too hard, and they worry about what humans might become if they keep pushing. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. Something that happened at Meridian Station that they kept classified for 15 years. Lieutenant Chen wasn't the first human at Meridian Station. That information was classified, buried, locked behind security protocols that required Council unanimous approval to access. But a journalist uncovered it 3 years ago using Freedom of Information requests. 70 years before Chen arrived, a human ship crashed near Meridian Station, a research vessel from Earth's early space exploration era, before Earth knew the Council existed. One survivor, a woman named Dr. Sarah Mitchell. She'd been studying high-gravity environments as theoretical physics research. The Council found her ship and brought her to Meridian Station for medical treatment. She was there for 6 months while they repaired her ship. During that time, she asked about the facility. They showed her the gravity chambers, explained the training protocols. Dr. Mitchell asked if she could try it. Just curiosity, scientific interest. They let her enter at 0.5 G, then 1 G, then 1.5. She kept asking to go higher. The station director at the time, a being named First Wind, was fascinated. He'd never seen a species adapt so quickly. Dr. Mitchell reached 2.2 G before she had to leave. First Wind documented everything. He sent reports to the Council. He recommended they find this Earth, planet, and establish contact immediately. The Council ignored him. They thought First Wind was exaggerating. They assumed his instruments were miscalibrated. One species couldn't be that different from the norm. First Wind died before Chen arrived, but his reports stayed in the database. When Vortak saw Chen's performance, he searched for similar cases. He found first twins documentation. Dr. Mitchell had predicted everything. She'd written in her notes, "If one average human can do this, imagine what trained soldiers could do." Earth's military potential is enormous. The Council should prioritize contact. The Council had known about human potential for 70 years. They'd ignored it because it didn't fit their understanding of biology. They'd assumed it was an error, an outlier. It wasn't. Here's why this matters. The Council's first response to humans wasn't curiosity. It was denial. They couldn't accept that their scientific models were incomplete. They'd studied thousands of species. They thought they understood the limits of carbon-based life. Humans proved them wrong, not through technology or intelligence, through simple physical existence. When Chen did that push-up at 3G, he wasn't just breaking a record. He was proving that the galaxy was bigger and stranger than anyone thought. That evolution could produce outcomes no one predicted. Earth's gravity wasn't normal, but Earth's gravity produced humans. And humans showed the galaxy that impossible just hasn't happened yet. If this opened your eyes to how perspective changes everything, then you're ready for the next part of this story. Because Chen wasn't done. After he conquered 3G, he asked one more question that made the Council nervous. What happens at 4? Let's recap what we learned. First, 3G gravity was designed as a death test, not training. It killed 12 species. Humans treated it as a workout challenge. Second, Earth's 1G environment is actually extreme by galactic standards. Humans evolved as biological tanks in a universe of race cars. Third, one human doing push-ups at 3G changed galactic politics, military strategy, and scientific understanding of what biology can achieve. The biggest takeaway? Your normal isn't universal. What feels ordinary to you might be extraordinary somewhere else. Chen thought he was average. The galaxy thought he was superhuman. Both were right from their perspective. This story matters because it's happening now. Earth is still integrating with the Council. Human colonists are moving to high-gravity worlds. New training protocols are being developed based on human exercise science. The long-term consequences are still unfolding. If you found this story fascinating, you need to subscribe right now. We're covering the entire human integration saga. Next video drops in 3 days, and it's about what happened when humans introduced their combat sports to the galaxy. Mixed martial arts at 2G became the most popular spectator sport in Council space. You won't believe why. Hit that like button if you want more HFY content. This channel is dedicated to humanity's wild journey into a galaxy that wasn't ready for us. Every like tells the algorithm to push these stories to more people. Drop a comment answering this question. If you could train at higher gravity to become stronger, would you do it? How high would you go? I want to know where this community stands. Are you Team Chen, pushing limits? Or Team Council, respecting boundaries? Here's a deeper call to action. If you're serious about exploring humanity's place in science fiction, I've put together a reading list. 20 novels and short story collections about human exceptionalism in space. From classic authors to modern indie writers. The link is in the description. Some of these books inspired this video. Also in the description, you'll find links to actual scientific papers about high-gravity adaptation, real research on bone density, muscle development, and cardiovascular stress. If you want to understand the science behind the fiction, start there. For those who want to go even deeper, I'm building a community on Discord. We discuss HFY stories, share writing, and debate the science behind these scenarios. It's free to join. Link in the description. We've got channels for biology discussion, military tactics, and creative writing workshops. One more thing. This video is part of a series. We're exploring every major humans are space orcs scenario. High-gravity training is just the start. Coming up, human pain tolerance, human endurance running, human strategic thinking, and the famous humans pack bond with anything phenomenon. Watch the playlist if you want the full story. Each video builds on the last. By the end, you'll understand why the Galactic Council simultaneously fears and admires humanity. Before you go, consider this. The Meridian Station story is fiction, but the underlying science is real. Human bodies are adapted to 1G. We are unusually durable compared to what biology typically produces. Evolution on Earth was brutal. It created survivors. What does that mean for our future? When we actually reach the stars, we might discover we're the tough species. The ones who can survive where others can't. We might be the pioneers by default. That's both exciting and sobering. Great power, great responsibility, all that. Thanks for watching.